Hi, everyone. Welcome to our new installation of Tech Tuesdays, all about connecting to your neighbors online. My name is Lydia Nimke. I've been working at MPL for the past 3 years, and with us also from the Milwaukee Public Library, we have Beth Gabriel, and she'll be in
Hello.
the background answering all your questions and reading your questions aloud periodically throughout today. So we will get started with our presentation today. I'm going to turn off my webcam and we'll get into it. Of course, you can ask questions at any point throughout the presentation. There is a questions panel to the right of your screen and you can type in there. So just to give you a little overview of what we'll be covering today, we're first going to discuss why you may want to build connections with your neighbors and why it's important. We'll also discuss how to find your neighbors or find what your neighborhood is. We'll be going over two resources that you can use specifically to build connections with your neighbors, and they are Nextdoor and Facebook groups. I'll be doing a short demo in each of these towards the end of our presentation today. And then finally, we'll wrap it all up with a discussion on safety and conduct. Okay, so we'll get started off with connections. Some of the benefits of connecting with your neighbors are extra home protection. And quite frankly, it's one of the most important benefits. Your neighbors know your regular comings and goings, and they're more likely to notice if someone is lurking around. Many neighbors have thwarted thieves because they were keeping an eye on their friends' properties. In other cases, you might want to have a neighbor watch over your house while you're on vacation and call you or protective services if something is amiss. There are a lot of neighborhood watch groups where you can have an extra set of eyes on your home, which is one of your most valuable assets, no doubt. Another benefit is enriching your social life. A friendly social neighborhood is more likely to have social events like block parties, potlucks, pool parties, game nights, and more before 2020. Friendly relationships make your neighbors enhance your family's social life and create meaningful relationships. A good neighborhood dynamic encourages you and your family to get out of the house, have some fun, meet new people, and try new things. Also, most neighbors are more than willing to lend you a helping hand. Um, whether you need to borrow an ingredient for a recipe you're trying out or you've just run out of dishwashing detergent, your neighbors can save you an impromptu trip to the store. I've seen this in practice where, my mom was a single mom with 3 small kids. She worked a lot, and our neighbors were often kind enough to just, while they were snow plowing their own sidewalk, they'd just come and do ours quick. It took them an extra 15, 20 minutes. But just because we'd built that rapport of, we can help each other out in this neighborhood, they were more than happy to do it. I was more than happy to watch their cats when they went out of town and things like that. Of course, you're always more than happy to return the favor and show your appreciation for your neighbors. And a fourth benefit is keeping up to date. A lot of discussion is going around right now, especially on trick-or-treating and Halloween this year and other things of that nature. All the local events that we had canceled, it seemed like things were changing hour to hour, day to day for a while there. And these pages are a really good resource for keeping up to date on things that affect your everyday life. And most importantly, they remind you that you're surrounded by friendship and support. Connection is important because when citizens interact positively with one another, the well-being of the community improves. So, finding your neighbors, it all depends on how you define your neighborhood. It can be your street, your block or surrounding blocks, your apartment or condominium, your floor apartment building. And this really reminds me of like my days back in the dorm where there would be like floor wars between all of us. It can also be the area surrounding a nearby school or place of worship, or houses along your part of the street, a local park, or a local square or business district. Now, if you are new to the area, there's a chance you might not know exactly what your neighborhood is, especially in this Milwaukee city of neighborhoods. You can try doing a search for your zip code, neighborhood name. So, for example, I would search for 53207, neighborhood name. You can also try a search for nearby landmarks. For example, I might search for Humboldt Park, Milwaukee neighborhood. Of course, you can always ask at your local public library or United States Post Office. Or you can visit the DCD Neighborhoods Map, which is linked in your handout. And this is an interactive map that you can click on your area that you're in and it will show you what the neighborhood's name is, what the rough population is, and a couple other details like that. So there are an estimated 190 some odd official and unofficial neighborhoods in Milwaukee. If you're comfortable with it, you can share the name of your neighborhood with us in the questions box. I live in Bayview, and Bayview has a lot of engagement online, a lot of Facebook groups, a really active Nextdoor page. So it's always interesting to see. And we'll move on to Nextdoor. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview of Nextdoor and Facebook groups. So Nextdoor really focuses on connecting neighbors to each other and to everything nearby. It connects you with the people you wave to or nod to in your neighborhood. So now you can know their names and chat with them online about local stuff. It also connects you to local businesses, and business owners themselves have the opportunity to reach out to their most valuable customers and become a trusted member of the neighborhood. There's also news updates on Nextdoor, and you can give recommendations for goods and services. And you can see stuff for sale from people down the block, which I think is very cool. So we've got someone with us from Clayton Crest. Nextdoor also focuses on real people at real addresses. So you're connecting with neighbors who have verified their identity, so you can make sure that they are those same people that you know from down the street. And if it's happening nearby, you'll hear about it. So you're automatically connected to people who live near you. And whether you need to find someone who's a local expert in hardwood floor restoration or you have a lost dog you found, you can reach out to neighbors in an instant. And they have some really good privacy settings on Nextdoor. They don't share your name, address, or email with advertisers, and any conversations you have within LinkedIn are not indexed by search engines, which is really powerful and really rare for a social networking type of website nowadays. So on Nextdoor, you will have to register with Nextdoor, and you will have to provide your name, email, and your address. Nextdoor has an updates and feed kind of function that you'll see on its homepage and a couple other places. This is where you'll see the updates from your neighbors and other local agencies. There is also a sidebar with lots of specific neighborhood resources. And there are also directories where you'll get links to message your neighbors, kind of along the lines of those paper directories we used to get in school with everyone in your class or in your grade. You can message people who are in your neighborhood or who live on your street. There are directories of pets, so we can reunite lost pets with their owners. And there are directories of public agencies. We'll be going over the neighborhood sidebar in more depth during the demo, as well as the directories. So here is kind of a map of the south side of our city. Nextdoor groups users based on the location they provided for their address. It will also show you details on your closest neighbors. So my neighborhood is the one in yellow, Bayview Northeast. My next door home feed shows me information on all of the green neighborhoods as well. So Walker's Point, Historic Mistral Street, Humboldt Park East, Humboldt Park South, Tippecanoe, St. Francis, Fernwood, and so on. So you're going to get a more local view there. And now we'll move on to Facebook groups. So there are kind of two distinctions in Facebook groups, basically whether it's public or private. So in public groups, anyone can see who's in the group and what they post. And in private groups, only members can see who's in the group and what they post. For privacy's sake, I won't be showing any private groups in today's demonstration. Obviously, I will only be showing public groups that I am a member of. So there are a couple common local group types on Facebook. There are neighborhood watches, things focused around lost pets. There are buy, sell, trade groups, and there are also buy nothing groups, which is a distinction from the above one, because generally one of the rules is nothing can be for sale, no money can be exchanged. And there are also groups that are kind of more like PTAs that are specifically for the parents of students at local schools. So I know that downtown Montessori Academy up the street here in Bayview has a group just for its parents to talk about local happenings and things that are affecting their students. All right, so here you'll see the results, the first couple of results for a search for Bayview, Milwaukee. We have a lot. Once we get to the demonstration portion of today, I'll be doing a search for some of the other neighborhoods our attendees are from. There is a chance that if your neighborhood is quite small or generally identifies with a nearby area, like how Downer Woods, the Upper East Side, and North Point all kind of call themselves the East Side, you might not find a lot for those smaller distinctions. You can always just try it one level up, search for the East Side, or if I know I'm in, Fernwood, I'll just search for Bayview. You can also just go to Nextdoor, which starts with your address, so it'll be focused on the different areas within the neighborhoods. So when you're joining groups, they generally want to verify that you're a neighbor. Each group will have its own set of questions that it will ask you in your application to join. It's normally no more than 3 to 5 questions, and it will ask things like, what's your zip code? What's your favorite neighborhood landmark? Nearest major cross streets? Things generally to try and verify that you belong in that group. It'll also ask that you read the group rules when you're joining. It'll say, have you read and agreed to the group rules? Group rules can be very strict or more lax. Many of the neighborhood groups I'm in ask for no solicitation, but recommendations of goods, local goods and services is okay. So if you ever have questions about whether something you want to post is adhering to the group rules or not, the admins of the group are great people to send a private message and to ask and make sure before posting. And I'll show you where to find their information in just one moment. So while I get the demo set up, are there any questions or things you all want to see specifically when we get into the websites here?
So far, no questions. We have attendees from the Clayton Crest neighborhood and the Murray Hill neighborhood, so thank you for that. Feel free to keep typing them in, and I will ask them aloud when you have them.
Sounds good. All right, so we are in Nextdoor currently. And this is our homepage. This is generally what it'll look like. I'm already all logged in. And if I wanted to post a message, event, poll, or alert, I could click in this box and post. And these are all things from those nearby neighborhoods, right? So Walker's Point, Fernwood, so on. But if I wanted to narrow it to just my specific neighbors, the people whose house I could walk to in like 5 minutes or less, I'd click on Bayview Northeast, and you see it's highlighted in green now, and I can see that all of the posts here are from people in my neighborhood. Okay, so into the neighborhood sidebar here. We have a treat map, which is awesome and great for kiddos or adults who want to see where they can go and get treats this Halloween. But we'll go into the for sale and free. I'll just show you a few of these so you can get a general idea of what is all in them. So here are things that are for sale in the general Milwaukee area. You can also narrow this down to things that are free. And quite often you'll find people are just trying to downsize, get rid of some stuff they don't need anymore. And they'll offer it up here. You can also post your own listing or narrow it down to just your neighborhood or a specific category. So we'll go back home and check out the events tab. So coming up in Bayview, looks like tonight we have a Brewtown Eatery Blues and Jazz Jam. That sounds pretty fun. You can see what's happening in your neighborhood. So yeah, and you can say whether you're going or not going, but it's always good to know. And then we'll go into the safety tab. So we unfortunately have a lot of car break-ins in Bayview, so that's what a lot of these are about. And our street lights aren't often on. So I'm sure that's a problem all over Milwaukee as well, but it's always good to know if it's a chain happening, if people are making their way down a block, breaking into cars, you might check this website and prevent someone. There was also a swarm of bees, which is definitely a safety issue we'd all want to know about. So that's the safety section. There's also the lost and found section, which is great for, items, your personal items, purse, phone, of course, and pets. Now we'll just go back to home and actually check out the directories down at the bottom. So I mentioned these before, and you can sort by first name, last name, and street name, and newest neighbors. So I could sort by street name and actually find all the neighbors along my street, which I think is so cool. And if I wanted to send them a message, hey, I think you live here. It looks like, you left your car light on, something like that. You can totally do that. So for the pet directory, it's very cute, I'm warning you. You can see all of the animals and their respective parents that they belong to. So if we click on Louie here, say I came across Louie out on the street and I wanted to reunite him with his mom, I could search him in here, see who looks like him, and then click on her and send her a message. Hey, I've got Louie. Let's meet up so I can give you back your pup. And then finally, we have our public agencies. So these are all like announcements from public agencies. Nextdoor partners with them across the country to give them a way to share important updates. So these are all verified, being who they say they are. This is the state of Wisconsin Department of Health Services Communications team. We've also got Milwaukee County on there, the city of Milwaukee. The U.S. Census Bureau was, of course, very, very active before the deadline. So yes, that is the Public Agencies tab under Directories. So I do also want to show you the privacy settings. So what I'm going to do is click on to access myself by clicking on my picture and then go into settings. So I'm going to open that up here. And now we're in our settings. So when you first join Nextdoor, it defaults to sharing your full address and your street number and street name. I didn't want to show my street number and name, so I just switched that settings under privacy to just show my street name. It shows it right there. That's why there's this tab over it. So I also changed my settings to say that only my direct neighbors can see my profile, but that anyone on Nextdoor can see my recommendations. If I'm going enough out of my way that I'm making a recommendation of someone's business, I definitely want them to get as much publicity from that as they can. There's also this great little table showing you what everyone can see. So my neighbors can see my name, photo, biography, interests, and skills, and my family contact info, as well as my recommendations, where my nearby neighbors, so the people in that green swath outside of Bayview Northeast, as they call it, can only see my name and photo and my recommendations, and everyone else can only see my recommendations. So I do encourage you to set your privacy settings to something you are comfortable with if you're going to use Nextdoor. Okay, so we'll move on to Facebook groups. And the way you'll access Facebook groups is through this icon up at the top of your page normally. It might be somewhere else if you're using mobile or your window is smaller. This icon, that's a circle with 3 people inside of it. You'll click on that. And I will just show you Bayview Town Hall. So we have here, it takes us right into the discussion page. I'm a member of this page, so I can post, I can tag people in things, I can, kind of comment freely. There is an about section that tells you kind of the purpose of the group and any rules. It'll also tell you that this group is public and when it was created. So that's kind of interesting details to take note of. In the announcements section, You'll again see the rules. Sometimes people have a hard time being good citizens on here, but for the most part, it's not a problem, and the admins are really on the game. So they'll just post little reminders every now and then. You can see the members of the group under the Members tab. So this is where you'll find information on your moderators, and you'll be able to private message them with any of your questions, specifically related to posting on the group, of course. And then you can also see your friends that are members of the group as well. If you have friends that you know live in your neighborhood but aren't necessarily a part of the group, you can click to invite them. You'll just type in their name. Going further into the Events tab, you'll see we have a virtual open house at Bayview High School and a virtual town hall with some state representatives. Here under the Media tab is where you will access all the photos that have been shared. See, someone had a yard sale. A lot of beautiful pictures from our parks. There's the library. We offer voting assistance. And this page was particularly happy about our official ballot drop box outside of Bayview Branch. And then there are files. So any files that members have deemed, worth sharing will be here, all archived for you. You can also search for posts within the group. So if you know you saw something, you think it was in Bayview Town Hall, but you can't necessarily remember, you can search. And aha, okay, that looks like it might be it. And you can view it like that. You can also narrow your search results to posts you've seen. You can narrow them to a recent time. If you think it was posted by yourself, obviously, or one of your friends, you can narrow it to that. And you can also narrow it by date. If at any point in time you want to leave the group, you'll press these three dots over here on the side, the ellipse, and leave the group or unfollow the group. Unfollow means that it won't populate in your group feed, whereas leaving the group, you're not a member anymore. You don't need to see anything from them. And it happens occasionally, so don't feel bad about that. But you can also share the group. So you can share it to your news feed, share it to a different group, share it to a page. So if we go back to the group's homepage and look, let's see, for someone else's neighborhood. So you can search for, let's see, Murray Hill. And we want to type in neighborhood and Milwaukee, so we don't get results from all over the place. Murray Hill is on the east side, isn't it? Murray Hill might just be wrapped all up in the east side group. Let's see. So we can use this east side group for an example.
Nydia,
And
we do have a question. What does pinning a group do? Can you explain that a little more?
sure, thank you. So when you pin a group, it'll show up at the top of your group's feed. So if there's a group like a neighborhood watch group for say, that you want to see pretty much every time you log into groups, you don't want to go searching for it for the last posted content from it. You pin it and it'll show up at the top every time. Thank you for your question. So we're in the East Side neighborhood group. Same things, except I'm not a member. It's still a public group, so I can see all of the posts. On their discussions board. But I can also see their about, their members, their events, etc., just like I could on the one I'm actually a member of because it's public. So if I were to click join group here, it is going to ask me some questions like I mentioned earlier. So question number 1, do you live in the neighborhood? I don't. Well, I live in an East Side, but not the East Side. So I would type no, but I live in Milwaukee. I would tell them my reason for wanting to join the group. And of course here, group members agree to follow the following rules. Generally, yeah, you say yes, you read the rules, and that's the process for joining a group. It's normally pretty simple. And from there, if you go back to your groups, if I had a pinned group, it would show up at the top here. But now I'm just seeing all the groups I'm a part of. A lot of library groups. And that is pretty much Facebook groups. So we'll go back into our presentation now. All right. So, and to wrap up today's discussion, we'll just want to, like we would with any other program that encourages people to go online and interact with strangers, want to just emphasize that everyone who wants to connect with their neighbors online should know that although there are some steps in place, especially with Nextdoor, to make sure that everyone is who they say they are, there is no guarantee of that. So you should always have a critical eye. So never assume a stranger online is trustworthy. You don't necessarily have to go the opposite route and assume that they're untrustworthy, but you shouldn't necessarily impart your trust in someone you've never personally met or interacted with. You, of course, want to be wary of providing your sensitive information online. Nextdoor does ask you to provide your address, but that information is encrypted on their end. So giving Nextdoor your information versus giving someone you meet on Nextdoor your routing number for your bank is 2 different things. You do want to be wary of providing your sensitive information online. Of course, you want to check out those privacy settings I showed you, both on Nextdoor and on Facebook. I didn't show you any Facebook ones today. That could be its whole own thing because Facebook tracks a lot, but you want to definitely utilize those Facebook settings. They're there to keep you safe. Also, we want to be on the lookout for scams. So if it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. If you are curious or if you have questions, there are resources and trusted sources that librarians or that friends of yours could connect you with. Just asking, another person, is this okay? What do you think about this? Is often a great step. I always ask people if they would be sold if someone walked up to them on the street and tried to push the same issue. Someone they didn't know just said, hey, you won $1,000. Just give me 100 and I'll be able to send you the other 900. Like, No, that wouldn't work. So if you choose to take your neighborly connections IRL in real life for any reason, try to meet in public, outside, or with other people you do know. And you can do all three. Tech Boomers actually has a great internet safety course that's listed in the handout, which is a really good resource if you're interested in learning more about internet safety. As far as conduct goes, Nextdoor has community guidelines that describe what's allowed on Nextdoor and how you can keep Nextdoor neighborly. It's also linked in the handout for this presentation. But a basic overview of what users are expected to do is to be respectful to their neighbors, do not discriminate, do not engage in harmful activity, and to promote local commerce the right way, as well as use your true identity. So if you make an account on Nextdoor, you'll see the member pledge about adhering to community guidelines when you sign up and each time you log in. For Facebook, you'll want to adhere to the Facebook community standards as well as the group rules. Community standards for Facebook are also linked in the handout. So please be aware that with both of these, it may take an amount of time before something that is obviously violating these rules of conduct is removed. There are lots of posts and few people going through them at a time. You can help in this effort by reporting a post, especially if it's obviously discriminatory, showcases harmful activity, or is just completely off topic out of left field about, a baseball team in Ohio or something that's not related to the neighborhood. So you can report those sorts of posts to bring it to someone's attention right away. Overall, I recommend following the golden rule, of course, both online and off. So this pretty much ends our presentation on connecting to your neighbors online. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the questions box. And while we're doing that, I'll just review the past events we have done. Back in September, we did a Cutting the Cord Tech Tuesdays as well as a LinkedIn Tech Tuesdays. And I am more than willing to provide these recordings to anyone who may not have been able to attend or registers late. If you just type in the box, I've got your email, I'll send it out to you. And we do have some upcoming events as well in October. So next week, we're going to do a Tech Tuesday on building a blog on WordPress. It'll be super fun. And the following week, we'll be discussing online learning resources, both from the library and outside of the library. We have a lot, but there's a lot out there as well. And we'll also be discussing delivery and curbside pickup. I hope some of you will join us next week on the same day at the same time for these programs as well. Thank you all so much for attending. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Otherwise, you can email me. And of course, you can always visit npl.org to learn more about the awesome programming we do.
All right, yep, thank you everyone for coming. I don't see, oh, here comes a question. Somebody would like you to please send the handouts along with a reminder email. Easier than quickly saving them during the talk. So we can certainly send you a follow-up email with those handouts.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. Okay, if there are no other questions, everyone have a great afternoon and hopefully see you next Tuesday.
Goodbye.
Bye.